All right, welcome back to Dick. Welcome back to Deep Diving Jeffrey Epstein with me. Everybody knows Little St. James was Jeffrey's primary residence, but for 20 years while Jeffrey was there, Great St. James was just sitting there, 165 acres of just undeveloped nothingness. And that's because it was tied up in a legal battle with an ex-NFL star and a Danish billionaire. Yeah, there's a story here. As far as I can tell, it looks like from the late 70s to 2016, the island was owned by, now I could be butchering the pronunciation of this too, the Kerr family, spelling here. From the digging I've done, it appears to me that the Kerr family never actually intended to ever live on that island or develop it. I think it was more so an investment, and they were just sitting on it waiting for the right time. And in 2004, ex-Miami Dolphins player Jason Taylor comes along and makes them an offer. And that shit started a 10-year legal battle. I think everybody obviously knows at this point the islands are right beside each other, but just keep in your mind for the rest of this video, Jeffrey didn't purchase Little St. James until 1998, and Great St. James wasn't purchased until 2016. So there's a gap. Let's go back in time for a minute to 2004, and you're Jeffrey Epstein, you're living on your island, you're living your life, and you hear some rumors around town that an ex-NFL star just put in a massive bid for the island right next to you, and he wants to put in like a 52 or 53 unit resort. Huge resort. That seedy little bitch. I just have a feeling as soon as he heard about a possible resort going in on the island right next to him, that's when he was like, oh shit. All right, I have got to buy this island. This is also just another example that highlights how Jeffrey's brain just doesn't operate the same as ours. Okay, the Kerr family, they bought that island as an investment, like most people do when they buy real estate. Most of us aren't buying islands, but that's not the point. Jeffrey bought that island because it was a threat to his privacy, and he didn't want any more eyes on him. It's just, he's so warped. I'm going to spare you the boring details of reading like a court transcript for this case, but a very watered down version of what happened. Both parties of the sale are accusing each other of being in breach of contract. In very broad terms, I think Taylor accused the Kerr family of not having the island, like the land itself, up to par with like permits and the condition of like what they agreed on in the sale. And then the Kerr family says that Taylor didn't have the funds by the date. So it's a lot of back and forth. So even with Jeffrey knowing this property was tied up in this super contentious legal battle, he decides to start putting it out there that he is interested in buying Great St. James in hopes that the Kerr family would leave this deal behind with Jason Taylor and hopefully take him up on his offer, so he wouldn't have to worry about a resort being built, and he would also have that extra layer of protection of the outside world not getting to his main residential island. I want to claw my own eyes out hearing myself say the main residential island. Like, fuck these people. I'm so eventually it does get back to the Kerr family that Jeffrey Epstein is interested in purchasing their island, and it's reported in Danish media that Christian Kerr, his wife Susan, specifically asked her husband not to sell the island to Jeffrey because she heard about his history. And not only that, locals were begging her not to sell the island to him. Guys, it was not until 2014 that this legal battle between the Kerr family and Taylor actually settled, and Taylor was actually able to walk away with a $1.5 million deposit that he had been fighting for the entire time that the Kerr family was trying to keep. I am so sure the Kerr family was probably so done with that island by that point and just wanted to wash their hands of it, but they did still hold on to ownership of it for a couple more years after that sale fell through. 2016 marks the year that the Kerr family officially sells the island to Jeffrey Epstein, and in interviews that Susan did later down the road, she said basically what brought them to the decision to sell was it was a business decision. Maintaining and upkeeping an island, the cost associated with it, I guess, was just getting harder and harder to ignore as time went on. I really thought that was the end of the story too, but I had one last question in my mind, and I was like, just out of curiosity, who is Jason Taylor's shitty ass lawyer that had an ex-NFL player tied up in court for 10 years over $1.5 million? And y'all, oh my god, Maria Tankerson Hodge. She represented Jason Taylor throughout the entire Great St. James ordeal. Guess who else was one of her clients in the early 2000s? Jeffrey Epstein. We really do just need to be so real about the fact, though, that the Virgin Islands only has so many attorneys. Of course, certain residents there are going to have overlap. But if it were me, and I was Jason Taylor, I'd have some serious questions for my old attorney. Big time. I'm not necessarily accusing her of anything. I'm really not. I am just kind of sitting here questioning, were there some ethical bounds crossed? I don't know. I'm just saying, if I found out my attorney had me in court for 10 years over a piece of land that she knew I really wanted to buy, but then I later find out that one of her old clients was also for real pushing to get that island, and he ends up with it right after my settlement? I don't know, guys. It does appear that Maria and Jeffrey maintained a pretty strictly professional relationship, but I don't know, at least for me, if you have any ties to him, I'm side-eyeing you, okay? I'll take it back, I'm aggressively side-eyeing you. I would just have some real questions about if I was being legally represented from a place of good standing if that person had ties to Epstein. Not only that, we have to keep in mind that Epstein had a direct interest in seeing Taylor lose that case. And we all know how Jeffrey is about things he wants. But I may have just jumped to conclusions, and honestly, this could all just be a crazy coincidence. In the case of never-ending fucking going